As Bitcoin looks like it's about to smash a new all-time high this week, a huge $800 billion firm just sent their clients a private letter saying that their original $200,000 Bitcoin price prediction is too bearish. What do they know that you don't? Well, they're not the only huge firm making bullish Bitcoin price predictions for this year. But before we get into that second price prediction from Bitwise, let's begin exposing what Bernstein told their clients in this email and talk about where Bitcoin could go on this bull run. So let me bring in the source. And of course, I'm not alone. I got the wonderful, the beautiful Internet Sophie next to me. And Bitcoin Mel is coming live from Alaska. So if we have issues with the internet, we'll bring her back in, but we'll be talking about Bitcoin Alaska to wrap up the show. Anyways, let's get into this prediction. So caveat here, there is a little shitcoinery in here. And, you know, for us, it's like you guys are missing the point here, but they do emphasize the Bitcoin price. So this came out, I believe it was Monday. I mean, no, it was Wednesday or something like that. It goes, Bernstein says 200K Bitcoin target is high conviction but conservative. Again, this is an $800 billion firm. They have been being pretty bullish on Bitcoin. They came out earlier this year and also did this 200K prediction. Now they're kind of wrapping it up again. They're like, actually, we were way too bearish. We did not anticipate where the price was going to go. We didn't anticipate how much money was going to get into Bitcoin. We didn't anticipate all these Bitcoin treasury companies basically unleashing the flows into Bitcoin. So anyways, in a note to clients on Monday, Bernstein analysts reiterated their conviction in Bitcoin, maintaining a, quote, high conviction but conservative price forecast of $200,000 for the cycle. However, their latest digital assets memo highlights a broadening mainstream interest in the financial innovation unleashed by the disgusting word blockchain technology, extending beyond Bitcoin store of value use case. Now, if you read this and you see where the rest of this is going, they kind of are unleashing the shitcoinery here. But we do know Bitcoin is much more than just a store of value. I've been saying for a while on the show that the digital gold meme around Bitcoin isn't enough. We've been calling it pristine collateral, the best money we've ever seen in the world. Well, they haven't fully got there, but they are upgrading their price predictions. So you love to see it. And here's where it gets a little tricky, guys. Here's where I think they're going haywire on this analysis. But it goes, Bernstein's notes that while many investors differentiate between blockchain, aka useful tech, and crypto, aka useless, this distinction is becoming a blurred. Now, if you've been in the Bitcoin space for a while, even Sophie knows, she's just like, oh man, what year are we in? Is this 2016, 2017 all over again? Are we going to be seeing this eternal September problem where all these institutions come in and we just rehash all of the same FUD lines of, you know, Bitcoin or blockchain, not Bitcoin, crypto, not Bitcoin, etc.? Well, it seems like they are going down these paths right now. Oh, wait, whoa, what's going on? Rumble ads coming up. Okay, now moving forward, you can see here, I'm not even going to read that stuff because it's toxic and gross, but it says the report highlights that the crypto market cycle began with the institutionalization of Bitcoin, exemplified by the successful launch of spot Bitcoin ETFs, which now manage approximately $120 billion in assets. Now, we didn't cover it on the show, but the BlackRock ETF this week became the fastest growing ETF to $70 billion. It's never been seen before. We've talked about the ETFs in general. It's the fastest growing ETF ever. And now it's the first ETF in history to get to $7 billion. I think it's safe to say that the institutions have an appetite for Bitcoin. It's becoming greater. We're seeing all kinds of financializations to get more Bitcoin. We've been a little skeptical here about that. We're saying, hey, this might be the new ICO bubble. One of these companies might pop on us. And we just definitely advise you guys to just buy straight Bitcoin. This is the safest way. Take it into custody. This is the safest way going forward. Now, to wrap up here, again, kind of disgusting framing here. It seems like either there is some talk about the shitcoin ETFs being launched. But we all know the value is really going into Bitcoin. Everything rides on Bitcoin coattails. But there is kind of some signal right here. And it goes, the analysts conclude that the narrative around value accrual of public blockchain network is at a critical inflection point. Now, this is something we've been talking about for a long time. It does seem like Bitcoin is going mainstream. It does seem like there's a whole new interest and appetite for Bitcoin. And you can't put this back in the bag. We are entering the mainstream conversation, the macro conversation. Everyone out there is starting to wrap their head around this idea that Bitcoin is the new macro asset. And I'm not going to play it on today's show, but we have some of the biggest billionaires essentially saying, if you want an ideal portfolio, you need to have some Bitcoin in that portfolio. Now, this is the first report. I'm going to pass it around the horn. Is 200K by end of year bearish, Sophie? Is 230K even more bullish? What's your thoughts on this? Actually, Soph might get a little toxic on this one. I already know what she's going to say.
I mean, it's not bearish when you have no idea how much Bitcoin these companies are actually holding, right? I mean, if we're taking their word for it, sure, like 200K can seem kind of bearish. Actually, 200K was actually like the base case for a lot of Bitcoiners. Between 150 and 200K was usually what you would be reading on Twitter. That was people's predictions. However, a lot has changed since that last bear market. Donald Trump is in office, a pro-Bitcoin president. We've had nothing but good news. The institutions have bought in. So much money has been coming into Bitcoin. And I think that the question really is, where is that Bitcoin? Can they show us the proof of funds? Or is that the reason that Bitcoin isn't skyrocketing right now? Because I think that if they did show us the proof of funds, Bitcoin could make it to 500K by the end of the year, like Nico says.
Yeah, I mean, so that is the fundamental question. Where are they buying all this Bitcoin from? How much paper Bitcoin is in the system? We're all wondering this.
And how is it even possible for them to be buying all of this Bitcoin when there's only, I think you said 450?
Yeah, 450 a day. It's roughly $50 million a day of buying pressure can buy up the daily supply of Bitcoin. And they're talking about billions.
And yeah, right. So they're talking about billions. I don't think people can actually humanly conceive how much more billions are from millions. And they're not buying it. Yeah, but but they're like not buying it from people. So where is this coming from? Why hasn't the price moved? Why are we still in this like weird sideways up the stairs action? That's like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, you can see Nico's perma bear is starting to infiltrate Sophie's thinking here.
I'm just pissed off. Okay, listen. There was a lot riding on this bull market. I had a shopping list. I had a wish list. Not saying we were going to sell, but just, like we all thought that we would be at a totally different place right now. And you have to ask yourself why. If all of the news is positive, if everything is going so great, if all of these institutions are buying Bitcoin, why hasn't the price moved? And why are they reluctant to show us their balance?
Yeah, the controversy around Sailor and strategy. Anyways, Mel, what's your thoughts on this? Is 200K conservative? Is it bearish? And what's your thoughts on paper Bitcoin?
Yeah, it's definitely there. I mean, there has to be. It doesn't make sense otherwise. I've been saying this for years. It makes no sense whatsoever. But at this time last year, what were we at price wise? So something is happening. It's just slower than we're thinking. And I would think that I'm going to just fully blame these institutions for this because if we can't prove it, I'm assuming it's paper Bitcoin.
Yeah, 100%. I think we're all kind of agreeing on that. Now, next story is another billion-dollar firm essentially saying the very same thing. So remember I was telling you about the Bitcoin conference and the consensus around that conversation that I got from most people that we interviewed and just chatted with. Everyone was saying 150K. They're like, I think 150K is the Bitcoin price for the end of the year. And we had just hit 110 or 112 that day. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like 150K for the end of the year, 6 months away, as you see in the thumbnail, 203 days away, or was I guess 200 and something days away, 220 days. It was a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, you guys are all bears. What's going on? And then my boy CJ comes on and just absolutely blows them all out of the water. And I'll show one of his charts. But anyways, let's check this story out. And this is why I bring up CJ, because he's the only other person that I've ever heard use this framing right here. But Bitcoin's fair value, that's the point, could be as high as 230K. Bitwise analysts are saying, hey, 200K seems bearish, maybe 230. And it just, makes some points here. It goes, Trump's tax cuts and soaring U.S. debt fuels Bitcoin rise as a hedge against sovereign debt default risk, potentially pushing Bitcoin's price towards 200K or more by 2025. So it's interesting. We have two huge firms. You could argue that maybe they're talking behind the scenes, but now we're seeing that maybe 200K is a reasonable price prediction for the end of the year. 6 months from now, as we know, Bitcoin price run very quickly in a relatively short time span. And I've been saying, I think since like 2024, like 200K to 300K seems, just my gut feeling where the price is going. And we'll just kind of hit the few key takeaways, chat about it a little bit. And it goes, Bitwise predicts Bitcoin could hit 200K by year end with a potential fair value. And I'll explain the fair value after this bit of $230,000. Of course, Trump's proposed tax cuts and rising U.S. debt position Bitcoin as a hedge against sovereign default risk. Bitcoin's OTT signal suggests strong momentum after a dip to 100K. So I wanted to show you what this OTT is here. And you can see consensus build on 200K BTC price target. Adding to Bitwise outlook by May 28 analysis by Stock Money Lizards, gotta love the name, highlights a bullish Bitcoin breakout indicator. The signal comes from the optimized trend tracker, which is triggered for the first time since mid-2024, suggesting Bitcoin will potentially reach 200K in 2025 with a possible extension to 250,000. And of course, everyone is kind of talking the same book here. 200K, 250K, what, 2x from here basically seems reasonable when you consider there is hundreds, if not thousands of Bitcoin treasury companies popping up every other day. We're seeing the nation state FOMO. I have a clip of Trump this morning dropping about, making America the Bitcoin superpower of the world. Seems like the dominoes are falling. And we haven't even hit retail FOMO yet. It seems like everyone doesn't care about Bitcoin at 100K, which is, we kind of thought would be the opposite. We thought 100K would be the price target that would bring people back in. Maybe that's 150, 200K. We have no idea what's going on here, but it looks like we are at the point of breaking out. We've been saying this. It feels like it's going to break out. Feels like the Bitcoin price is going to explode. Now, before I pass it to the crew real quick, this is what me and CJ were talking about. So I don't know if you guys saw the interview I did with CJ at the Bitcoin conference, but we chatted about Bitcoin's fair value. Now, I don't know all the mechanics of this, and I don't know where he gets his indicator from. It is from Capriol IO Investments. He's got some really good indicators. But this is the point that we tried to get across to you, but we were in the interview, so I didn't have a visual for you. And this was June 2nd. So I don't have the updated one for this week, but 10 days ago, this is kind of the data he was looking at, and it goes, Bitcoin's fair value chart update. Bitcoin's fair value, which is this yellow or maybe orange line. I'm not sure. I think it's orange. It's orange. Okay, it's orange. It's all right. It goes, Bitcoin's fair value is $318,719. The current price is a 67% discount. And this is the point that we were talking about at the conference, is this idea right here. There's never been in over 12 years of applicable chart history a time when a Bitcoin bull cycle ended below the Bitcoin fair value number. Reversions to the mean is up. Max pain is up. Any downs are a gift, and premiums to Bitcoin fair value will come. In the meantime, stack the discount. Now, as I was saying, when we were having these conversations in Vegas, the bearish take, what I would say, was everyone's like 150K. CJ comes on. He's like, I don't think you guys know what's going on. It's the Bitcoin fair value is at 318K. So whether you think 230, 250 is bearish, if you think it's conservative, maybe a high conviction take, there is even more bull-hearted Bitcoiners out there with indicators basically saying, no, like we're going to go above, if not to 318K. And like this said, there's never been a time in any bull market where we haven't hit these numbers. So I'm not telling you to FOMO into this, but it does seem like the end of the year, it might get more exciting than we've seen this beginning of the year. I don't know. All roads seem to be leading to Bitcoin. Everything seems to be lining up perfectly. We have way more interest in Bitcoin from institution. And I have a good report from Gemini essentially laying out that maybe the market dynamics have changed here because of the institutions. I'll cover that in the news for you guys so we can get some new data on who's actually driving the Bitcoin price. But shouts out to CJ. I love this chart. Again, we're chart boying a little bit. We are predicting some prices here on Simply Bitcoin, but I think we're all kind of getting tired. And I mean, maybe I'm speaking for myself. We've all heard the $1 million prediction. We've all heard it's going up forever, Laura. But, you know, everyone really wants to know, like, what's it going to do in a year? Can we just know what we're going to do by the end of the year? Like, what is 2025 going to look like? Are we going to get a crazy FOMO blow off top again? Only time will tell, but it's starting to make me feel like my original 300K price prediction that I literally just like pulled out of thin air, and I'm like the meme, I am the source for this. I think we're going to get close to this. So keep watching that Twitter account. Again, it is BTC Fair Value on Twitter. CJ updates that constantly. I think that's some good indicators there. So I'm going to pass it over to Mel because I heard her doing a couple like, okay, interesting. I like some bull sauce on a Thursday. What's your thoughts on these basically, you know, more high conviction, people moving up their price predictions? Are you feeling the same vibe? Are you starting to get bullish that we're going to see a blow off top parabolic run this year?
The first thing I'm going to say is, I don't know. But when I see this fair value stuff, I mean, I have to agree. We're still below value. So I'm going to take as much time as I can to keep stacking. I mean, it means we have more time to stack. I can tell you that, you know, the higher the price gets, the more people believe that they can't get in anymore. And it's a weird thing, but I caught it in Vegas, you know, talking to bartenders and servers and, oh, you know, I wanted to, but it's so expensive now. So like, you know, fair market or fair value, I love this. I love this. This means keep buying. Everybody keeps stacking because yeah, eventually we're going to get a blow off top. When it happens, who knows, but it's coming.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Mel, I think you said something that we've been saying, and I think all Bitcoiners have been saying, whether they're an OG or a newer Bitcoiner. Once you understand the fundamentals of the network, you look at the Bitcoin price today, and you all you can think of it's on discount, like it's cheap, it's underrated right now. Like the Bitcoin price should be much higher, and I think that's kind of the trend. Until you fully understand what's going on with Bitcoin, you're like, why would I buy it at 100K? Like, why would I buy the top at 100K? And we're all like, we buy tops as generational timestamps. Like, this is cheap. We know where it's going. And once you can't see the finish line, you don't understand what is going on. I had a friend reach out yesterday, and he was trying to buy, you know, a couple $1,000s in Bitcoin, and he didn't know anything. He was like, wait, like I have to pay fees on this. And be like, I'm like, yeah, this is, you know, if you're buying from exchange, you'll pay some fees on it. And I didn't really want to like bombard him with too much information, but I really wanted to say, dude, like, you know, $50 fees on your buy, you're really not going to, even if it's a couple $100, you're really not going to care if Bitcoin goes to these crazy price predictions in a couple of years. Like, it's really not going to matter. It is cheap right now, and that is the signal. Anyway, Sophie, what are you thinking? I know you have some price. Let me just get Sophie. All right, so we got Nico, the perma bear. Let's get Sophie, the perma bull, take on this.
Well, it's not so much bullishness. I mean, I agree with that being the fair market price, but I think ultimately what's going to make that fair market price realization, like in actuality, is adoption. I think people like the normies need to wake up. They need to like get out of bed, take a little stretch, and read the white paper. It's gonna be hard for them because if they don't adopt it now, they're gonna get it at the fair market price or at an incredibly bullish price of, you know, 500K, 1 million, like $1 million. What price is it really going to take for people to buy in? And I think that there's some truth to what Mel said. A lot of the people that I speak to about Bitcoin, they're like, oh, it's too late for me to come in. I need to wait for the price to go down. And then the price just keeps going up. So is it really about the price, or is it really about you just stacking some sats and buying some periodically so that you can at least have some? Having some is better than having none at all, but people don't understand that. They're still looking at Bitcoin as an investment, and they don't see the long-term vision and the utility of Bitcoin. So until people actually understand that, I don't know what will happen to the price. Like it does make me a little bit bearish, but because I think that the price should be so much higher than it is. But both adoption and the fact that I don't trust these institutions to be telling the truth when they say that they're buying actual Bitcoin is, I think those are factors that are making the price go sideways.
Yeah, I think the main signal here is someone wants the price to be low for now, or some people want a low Bitcoin price at the moment.
Yeah, that's obvious. I think a lot of these people are just trying to accumulate as much capital as possible so that they can take all the Bitcoin and keep it for themselves. Like, what was it that we were saying when BlackRock initially launched their ETF? Like, BlackRock's coming for all of your Bitcoin, don't sell it to them. Like, that's what's happening right now. And maybe they're saying that they're buying all this Bitcoin, but in reality they're just, it's like kind of like a pinky promise, like, we are going to buy this Bitcoin, but we just need it, like, we just need to wait a little bit for like our money to like come in so that we can buy it.
Yeah, totally. Let's dump on the institution. No, we are solidifying our purchasing power.
Let's dump on the institutions and the normies. Y'all need to get it together.
Yo, chill. But first off, before we move on, Winsome's got not this again. We need to push the message that Bitcoin's gains are because your fiat is devaluing. Of course, this is what we try to get across as much as possible, but people don't understand this concept.
No, it's not even that people don't understand. People don't care. People don't care. People want to live for today, and they don't care about tomorrow. Like, we live in a generation that, like, because our money is so devalued, we're not able to think ahead. We're literally just thinking about how to get from one paycheck to the next, how to pay our bills, and how to once in a while enjoy our lives, because people just can't do that anymore. So you think that people are going to take from their life enjoyment, and instead of like going out to have a burger, they're going to like save it and put it into Bitcoin, this thing that they can't even like conceptualize? No, absolutely not. And that's part of the plan. That's part of the evil of fiat. It keeps people enslaved because their money is constantly devalued, and they just, there is no incentive to like go out and like sacrifice and like learn about Bitcoin and go through this inconvenience of stacking sats. And ultimately, and I say this almost every show that I'm on, I think it's going to take something absolutely catastrophic for people to finally wake up and say, damn, like, I really should get off zero. I should buy some Bitcoin. I should have a little bit so that I'm not like in this rat race 24/7. Not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody's meant to like be, this like grand investor, but everybody can buy some Bitcoin. Everybody can buy some Bitcoin. And so it's going to take something real bad. And I really hope that people realize that the reason that they're in this rat race is because their money is being devalued. They're getting screwed.
Couldn't agree more, Sub. Couldn't agree more. I saw this great thread yesterday, and it was really kind of angling it in terms of AI, but it was basically saying like we are seeing essentially a fork in the road right now, stratification in society right now, where there is and using Yuval Harari's kind of very horrible framing of like useless eaters, we're starting to see this fork in the road where if you don't own assets, aka Bitcoin, or if you're rich enough, any other assets, and you're just like an average middle of the road person, middle class, you have a lot of debt, or you're working paycheck to paycheck, things might get really bad real soon, because AI is, I'm not the biggest AI guy out there. I think that AI hype is like just what it is, a little overhyped, but we are seeing like Nico's a good example. He's obsessed with his AI. It's like his best friend right now. And I think we're seeing that there is a whole fundamental paradigm shift going on in the world right now. And if you don't have skills and you don't have assets, it might get really bad. It might be a digital panopticon. It might be worse than any sci-fi movie we've ever seen. Again, it's a little hyperbolic. I'm a little doomerish right now, but we are seeing a fork in the road right now, and you need assets. Just get off zeros, save in Bitcoin, take it into custody. This is how you win.
It's not that hyperbolic when you realize that AI can also be applied to robotics, and that like people, I saw someone say like, oh, get a trade job, like you're never going to see AI become a plumber. That's not true. Like, have you seen these little robots on the street that like come and deliver your food and like do like there's like robots that know how to do like surgery and stuff using AI. So you know, there's we're gonna have to like develop as a human race a bunch of other skill. He got a bonus.
Yeah, bonus is not a raise. So anyways. If you don't,
in terms of Bitcoin, it could be.
If you don't get the joke, it was from Sessions last night. So if you didn't catch that, you're not in on the inside joke. Anyways, we got a lot of conversation left. Again, I have a new Gemini Coin Glass report, kind of talking about the new market dynamics since institutions came in. And then we got a breaking news video from Donald Trump. He is doubling down on America being the Bitcoin superpower of the world. He even mentioned how honored he is of being the first crypto president. I don't know. There's a lot of talk going on. Like Soph has been saying, I want to see the hard numbers here. I want to see the address with the Bitcoin that America supposedly holds. I want to see them buy some more. Actually, I don't really want to see that. But like, if they're going to talk, I want to see some action here. So that's coming up. Anyways, guys, before I move on, big shout out to the Bitcoin Well. They are the best place to buy your Bitcoin. You need to have a wallet to buy Bitcoin from them. And the reason we love them is because there is no possibility of them ever rug pulling your Bitcoin. Literally, you send them their money. Once it clears, it goes straight into your cold storage. They are the only exchange in North America that does that. They're actually the only exchange, and this one might be a big of a stretch, but I was talking to Adam. I'm like, I'm going to plug it. They're the only exchange that has sent 100% of their Bitcoin to their customers. You can fact check me on that one, but scan the QR code over there. Use the promo code simplybtc, and when you sign up, you get 3 tosses into the wishing well for a chance to win a million sats, which I think is about $1,000 right now. I'm still on $100 per million sats metric here. Anyways, let's get into the show.
I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stamp Seed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water, they put a blowtorch to it, and as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store. Head over to stampseed.com today.
All right, guys, I'm over here on Clark Moody's dashboard going over the Bitcoin numbers. As you can see, the current Bitcoin price is 107,820, which means you can buy about 927 sats per dollar, which is essentially how much the dollar is worth in Bitcoin. And the block height is currently at 900,959. The market cap in fiat terms is 2.14 trillion. We're almost at 9% of the gold market cap, and the total percentage of Bitcoin that will ever be issued, I repeat, the total percentage of Bitcoin that will ever be issued is currently at 94.65%, with the realized monetary inflation of 0.85%. Again, the best, hardest money, period. Nothing comes close to it. And as much as we're getting tired of the price, we're only down -3%, and everyone's like, it's over, wrap it up. We're never going back to all-time high. Even Nico was joking yesterday off air. He's like, I'm like, bro, we're seeing a bullish setup right now. And he's like, what if the bullish setup is just going to 114K and then it dumps again? I'm like, dude, trust, bro. It's going up. Anyways.
Damn,
he's a perma-bull. He's a perma-bull confirmed.
I can't believe it.
He is a bull. He's kind of, a perma-bear. Perma-bear. He is bearish. Anyways, we saw this.
What is happening?
Yeah, exactly. It's he's got PTSD. He's got price fatigue right now.
I think he's demoralized.
He's totally demoralized. I mean, it's Selfie buying all the new furniture for the house.
Yeah,
it's got him really demoralized.
He says I'm like a hole in, the middle of his bank account that just like slowly drains all of his resources. Not my fault. Shit's expensive, bro.
Yeah, and a daughter.
Hey, when I'm back in Miami, I'm going to take you estate sailing.
I'm so down.
Okay, enough girl talk here. We're here for Bitcoin. We're here for Bitcoin.
No, this isn't girl talk. This is about Bitcoin.
This is stack more sats.
Yeah, this is
money
a full
for more Bitcoin.
By the way, if you want to buy great stuff, go to estate sales. That's where it's at. You just need a lot of patience and a friend like Mel.
Let's go. Okay.
I have the patience for that.
I do not.
Low time preference. Okay, so we saw this come across the timeline this morning. Trump made a speech. Apparently, there's a Coinbase conference happening right now, and there is, which I'm not going to cover today, but there is some interesting news coming out of Coinbase, which I need to dive in a little deeper for you guys. So I might bring that up on tomorrow's show. There's a questionable advisor at Coinbase now, but I didn't have enough time to dive into all of the details. But apparently, there's a Coinbase conference going on right now, and Trump gave all of us a message. So let's hear this message.
At the Coinbase State of Crypto Summit. I'm delighted to speak to some of the greatest visionaries and pioneers in the fields of tech and finance who are working to build a future powered by crypto. Many have called me the first crypto president. That's an honor. I really do consider that a very big honor, actually. And starting on day one, we ended the Biden administration's war on crypto. It was an absolute war and very unfair. And we unleashed American innovators to do what you do best, lead the world into new frontiers. We ended Operation Choke Point 2.0. I created the first presidential working group on digital assets. I named a pro-freedom, pro-innovation SEC chair, a great man named Paul Atkins. And we created the U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve and the United States Digital Asset Stockpile. But we are not done yet. My administration is working with Congress to pass the Genius Act, supporting the creation of dollar-backed stablecoins. And we also will be working to create clear and simple market frameworks that will allow America to dominate the future of crypto and Bitcoin. Congratulations to everyone at this exciting time in your industry and in our country's life. I wish you all the best of luck.
The best part of that entire video was at the end when he made the distinction between crypto and Bitcoin. Like, slay, finally. Put some respect on our digital asset, bro.
The only crypto is Bitcoin. Anyways, before I pass it over to Mel, we didn't talk about this on the show, but we have been hearing a similar sentiment come out of Bo Hines, which of course he's part of the crypto advisory group. And he said essentially what Trump said. This was about a week ago, beginning of the week, over the weekend. I forget the exact same day. I'm not going to play the clip, but here is essentially the meat of this. And it is, we want as much Bitcoin as we can possibly get. Of course, we've been hearing him say this, like, we want all the Bitcoin. Of course, he's been doubling down on budget neutral ways, but he's emphasizing, doubling down on, they are working actively to figure out a way to get this Bitcoin. You know, a lot of Bitcoiners are maybe a little uncomfortable with the fact that most of the Bitcoin they own, or rather all of the Bitcoin they own on this supposed strategic Bitcoin reserve is by Seized Bitcoin. So hopefully there's some ways where they get Bitcoin without doing that. And here's the big part that I think will be interesting to watch, a little FOMO, is I think he said Bitcoiners will be extremely pleased with what they announced. Now, Trump doubled down on that.
Are they gonna print more money and use that to buy Bitcoin?
Super exciting.
That's really exciting. That'd be great.
Yeah, totally. So, you know, Trump, as he said, I'm very honored to be called the first crypto president of the United States. It does seem, it does seem like the Trump family, you know, whether you like them or not, whether you believe them or not, whether you think they're just politicians looking for votes, it does look like they are going headfirst into Bitcoin in a lot of ways, whether that means they're true believers or they're just dipping their toes into the Bitcoin industry. One thing remains the same. As the United States and very influential people in the United States start to embrace Bitcoin, the ripples around the world are going to spread, and everyone will have no choice but to stack Bitcoin, but to accept Bitcoin. And as Nico tweeted, I don't have it up here, and he was talking about it yesterday. It's like, this is what we mean when we're saying we are winning. We have fundamentally memed Bitcoin into the White House, into the mainstream conversation, into every macro circle. They have to take Bitcoin seriously, and we are just starting to see the beginning of it. It's going to get crazy, guys. I'm fully convinced of this. So I don't know, Sophie, you can chime in on Trump, and then we'll pass it over to Mel.
I agree with one of the comments that seemed like AI Trump, and it's almost,
I thought that too. I literally thought that too, and I had to fact check it.
It's almost unbelievable though that a president of the United States is making these comments and is so forward and like bullish on Bitcoin. Yes, you can keep me. I will be on a lot more. But I, you know, again, this doesn't, where's the Bitcoin? Show us the reserves. And also, by the way, I'm not partial to just showing us the reserves on Bitcoin. Like, show us the gold reserves.
Yeah,
show
whatever happened to the gold audit.
Show us the whole balance sheet, or just, you know, print more money so that you guys can buy more Bitcoin, and then it's not, you know, stealing from the American people through taxes or through Ross Ulrich.
But okay, Mel, what's your thoughts on this Trump clip? And maybe, hey, you know, fact check me. I'm like 99% confirmed it wasn't AI, but AI has been getting so good lately that I literally had that same thought, guys. So Mel, if it is true, what's your thoughts hearing that clip and being congratulated?
If it's true, it's great. But I don't know if I believe that he understands the difference. I'm sorry. I don't know. So
I don't think he knows it either.
So that's why I'm not sure. I mean, if that's real, great, because people need to understand the difference, because I think that's another one of our huge issues, is that crypto is Bitcoin to everyone. They don't know the difference. You know, there is no difference between Solana and Cardano. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those who understand the difference, though, they're winning. And yeah,
absolutely.
Sorry.
So I'm glad he's saying that, because I hope that it can differentiate. And it's just such a huge piece of this right now. And like, I actually had a call from my mother, and she said to me, "Does Trump have anything to do with Bitcoin?" I'm like, okay. I've been in this since 2017. Trump had nothing to do with Bitcoin then, and he's got nothing to do with it now. It's him enforcing it is not the same as him. So yeah, there is this weird misconception that somehow he has something to do with Bitcoin. And once again, Bitcoin is for everyone. It's for everyone. It's not just if you like Trump or don't like Trump. It's for everyone. And I hate that it's getting so politicized because it's not political, period. Period.
Amen.
That's it. It's not political.
Mic drop.
Let's go.
Not political.
Yes, I think Mel made a good point, and actually, I saw a good comment that you reminded me of here. Let me pull it up. This guy, I've been following him for a couple of months now. Financial Physics. He goes, "Why does Bitcoin need him? AKA, why does Bitcoin need Trump? Bitcoin doesn't need government. That's the whole point." Totally agree. I think all of us Bitcoiners are especially if you're like libertarian, anarcho-capitalist perspective, you're like, I could take or leave this, but it does enter the conversation now because the normies are like, whether you love Trump or not, there is a legitimizing effect by having the president of the United States start to embrace Bitcoin and talk about Bitcoin. And maybe he is doing an art of the deal here where he's like, we're going to buy $1 million Bitcoin. And then they don't ever buy it. And it's just like a game of chicken. And then someone starts buying. Hey, I'm okay with all of this if the nation state game theory starts playing out real quick and someone starts stacking.
I think that if Trump understood that if they actually bought Bitcoin, his shitcoin would go up, he would buy it in a heartbeat. I don't know how no one has explained that to him. To be honest,
that is why I believe he is saying this. I mean, that makes the most sense. If he endorses Bitcoin, it makes Trump coin legitimate.
And that guy is right.
Not technically, but
Bitcoin doesn't need Trump, but what Bitcoin does need is marketing. We need better marketing. We need the normies to hop on board. We need people to want to use Bitcoin. We need people to want to buy Bitcoin. And if the price isn't an incentive enough for people because they have lives and they don't follow the price of Bitcoin obsessively on a block clock like we do, they're gonna need some other pushes. And what better incentive than having someone else tell them to buy it or someone else legitimize it, whether that be for boomers or institutions or people like me and you. We see that the government is buying some or these institutions are leaning towards it, and it stops being this internet meme and suddenly actually starts being this actual asset that people start looking into and actually it being incentivized to educate themselves on. So, Bitcoin doesn't need Donald Trump or any person on this planet, but yeah, we need better marketing, y'all, and this is it.
Well, speaking of better marketing, Sophie, we've been talking about it for a while now. The institutions are here and their marketing teams are out here pumping Bitcoin as well. And we got a new report coming out this morning talking about the new landscape. So let's dive straight into it. There's actually some interesting numbers here, and I want to kind of point out some of the framing that they use. We'll talk about it right here. I'll point it out.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Casa. Casa makes self-custody easy and secure. As a Bitcoiner, I care about holding my own private keys, but multi-sig can sometimes get tricky. Casa nails it with a multi-key security. So even if one key gets lost or stolen, your Bitcoin stays safe and you don't give up custody, meaning no one could access your Bitcoin but you. No seed phrase anxiety, no single point of failure. I've been telling my friends and family about Casa for years. Their UX and UI on their app is by far the best in the industry. Inheritance planning is built in, and they even offer Casa for Business if you're thinking about a Bitcoin treasury. Hit up casa.io today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 10% off Casa Standard or Casa Premium. Head over to casa.io. I want to give a shout out to our partner, CoinKite. If you take your Bitcoin security seriously, you'll need the best Bitcoin hardware wallet on the market to take self-custody. That's where Cold Card comes in. The Cold Card Q is the most advanced Bitcoin signing device ever made. It's got a full keyboard, larger screen, and NFC support, making air-gap signing easier than ever. It's built for power users who want the ultimate security without sacrificing usability. And if you're looking for a battle-tested, uncompromising cold storage, the Cold Card MK4 is your go-to with PSBT signing, an industrial-grade secure element, and USB-C. It's the perfect blend of security and convenience. Both devices devices are, of course, 100% Bitcoin only, open source, and built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. Secure your Bitcoin the right way with the Cold Card Q and the MK4. Head over to coldcard.com today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 5% off anything on the store.
All right, guys, as I was telling you, it seems like we have some of the best marketers coming into Bitcoin, but this report isn't necessarily about like the BlackRock team shilling Bitcoin or any of these big firms shilling Bitcoin. It's really kind of quantifying the effect of institutions coming into Bitcoin. And of course, since I just played Trump, the idea of a strategic Bitcoin reserve and Bitcoin adoption. So I'm over here on Gemini.com, and this, you can see the URL, or maybe actually you guys can't, but it's Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. And this is titled The Bitcoin Adoption, Volatility, and Market Cap, Exploring the Impact of the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve on the broader Bitcoin ecosystem. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to kind of hit on a few of the main points. There is some good data in here that I think is suggesting kind of the vibe we've been feeling, the gut feeling that we've been talking about. And I know it's kind of a cliche in the Bitcoin space. We all say it every cycle that this time is different. I think fundamentally we can all agree, or rather we won't all agree on it, but I think fundamentally we can say that this time is different. The institutions are here. There's a whole new breed of interest. We've never had nation states talk about Bitcoin, central banks embrace Bitcoin. We've never had, strategic Bitcoin reserves passed in legislation or even that conversation happening, or essentially some of the biggest influential investors in the world start to look at Bitcoin as an alternative to bonds. And now we do. So whether that information hasn't fully spread throughout the whole marketplace, or rather planet Earth, I think we are starting to see this time is different just based on the conversation. Will the cycles be different? We have still yet to see, but we are seeing that things are fundamentally changing. Anyways, this first statistic is actually kind of crazy. Now, as I was mentioning before the break, there is a framing here that I find interesting. Maybe they're just trying to clarify what's going on. Maybe they're trying to differentiate that from individual holders. But you can see here, centralized entities, growing adoption. Over 30% of Bitcoin circulating supply is now held by just 216 centralized entities. Again, the emphasis on centralized here, reflecting both expanding institutional adoption and deepening custodial centralization, which is obviously a huge hot topic right now, not only just in centralization of companies custodying Bitcoin. We've been talking about Coinbase for a long time, or the recent move of the centralization of mining, or the, as some people have been saying, the attack of core on nodes. We are starting to see that maybe a lot of people are realizing or trying to figure out, is Bitcoin's decentralization ethos under attack here, whether directly or indirectly? Is this a concern? Now, this framing is really more on custody and the Bitcoin in honeypots. Whoa. Okay. That was Mel. All right. Anyways, let's break this down a little bit. And here's some of the article. And it goes, since early 2015, centralized exchanges have emerged as the dominant custodians of Bitcoin, initially holding just under 600K Bitcoin on behalf of their users. Today, the total Bitcoin held across major institutional and custodial entities has surged to 6,145,207 Bitcoin, representing an increase of 924% in supply held by centralized entities over the past decade. Now, during the same period, the spot price of Bitcoin has climbed from under $1,000 to over $100,000, reinforcing the thesis that institutions increasingly view Bitcoin as a strategic asset. Now, this report analyzes 216 entities spanning 6 key categories: exchanges, ETFs/funds, public and private companies, DeFi contracts, and government. While, of course, not exhaustive, this data set captures the most influential players that now collectively hold nearly 1/3 of all circulating Bitcoin. Now, when I saw this, we were preparing the show this morning, me and Luke, and we're like, is that number real? 1/3 of all circulating Bitcoin is in custodians, or rather these big entities, corporations, ETFs. It seems to be true. Say it ain't so, but it seems to be true. And it's really, Sophie was bringing it up earlier. We're like, with the amount of announcements of buying Bitcoin, $1 billion going into Bitcoin, there has been a conversation whether these ETFs and these corporations actually own the Bitcoin. Our boy Checkmatey has been saying it's there. There's Sonny on Twitter who's been saying something similar. Arkham has been saying similar, that we see, sailors' addresses. So it does seem like the corporations, the ETFs do hold the Bitcoin. This is coming out of not just Gemini, but Glassnode. If you know Glassnode, they do have really good on-chain data. And you can see the different sizes, of course. The main bulk of that Bitcoin is in exchanges, and second is in exchange traded funds, or I forget what ETH is, but it's an ETF. Anyways, this is probably the point here, because there has been a conversation about this recently, is whether Bitcoin's been hijacked or these corporations. Is Larry Fink a good thing to come into Bitcoin? Hey, your worst enemy wants Bitcoin as well. So you have here this quote: 3 entities dominate Bitcoin adoption across nearly all respective categories, signaling that early adopters continue to shape institutional market structure. Across nearly all institutional categories, excluding private companies, the top 3 entities control between 65% to 90% of total holdings, underscoring the dominance of early adopters in the Bitcoin treasury space. You could read that as saying, if you were early to Bitcoin, if you are a true believer in Bitcoin, you're probably holding most of the Bitcoin right now. In contrast, private company holdings appear more distributed, reflecting a broader base of engagement. While this dominance is expected to decline as markets mature, these centralized leaders have played a crucial role in channeling capital into Bitcoin holdings and legitimizing it as a global macro asset class. Something we've been saying on the show. Now we have the data to back it up. Of course, despite a steady aggregate balance, the spot trading sector exerts growing influence on price, driven by investor flows and the rising dominance of ETF. Now, here's another interesting point. I don't know if you guys saw me and Luke on the show, but we kind of have differing views on the idea of how much Bitcoin is on exchanges. Is it really going to go under 2 million? What is actually happening with the amount of Bitcoin in exchanges going down? I think here is kind of what I've been saying from a gut feeling. Luke's been taking the other way, like, the Bitcoin on exchange is going to zero. I'm like, it might be that things are just getting kind of moved around. And here is Glassnode and Gemini's take here. In reality, most of the Bitcoin has migrated to ETFs and funds, particularly US spot ETFs. The total Bitcoin held by this spot trading sector has remained relatively stable, ranging between 3.9 million to 4.2 million BTC since June 2021. The stable range suggests that the drop in exchange balances does not imply shrinking supply, but rather a structural reshuffling of custody. Now, this is something I've been kind of saying. Luke's been taking the other side, but it's here. It seems like we're getting some on-chain data, some more information that it's not that all the Bitcoin is leaving the exchange. It's probably just moving into ETFs and these private companies. So supply shock at some point will happen. Of course, there is an inherent supply shock in Bitcoin because 21 million and trillions of capital have to flow into it. But I think I'm going to push back on the fact that exchanges are losing Bitcoin, because the data seems to be proving otherwise. Anyways, these custodians are highly responsive to market volatility. Net monthly flows can massively swing between plus or minus 10 billion, underscoring their growing influence on price action despite relatively stable aggregate holdings. So still bullish. It just, the supply shock meme is probably not totally accurate here. And I'm just going to read the couple last headlines here, and then we'll chat about it. So sovereign treasuries influence markets through passive holdings, legal seizures grows, and strategic policy signals. Again, they start talking about the U.S. announcement of a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and China and Germany selling, and China banning it, UK kind of embracing it, or kind of not so much. They seem to flip it all the time. But here is the main point of this one. These holdings represent a structurally distinct class, dormant but capable of moving markets when activated. We've talked about this in the past, that, hey, nation states getting in the Bitcoin don't necessarily need to stack Bitcoin to move the market. If they just change the regulations around that can be a bullish indicator, or, unleashing capital. They do mention El Salvador and Bhutan as being the only 2 nations in the world that are stacking Bitcoin without seizing Bitcoin, without theft, which is, kudos to those 2 countries. The only one really getting Bitcoin the way that we like to see it. But hey, what can we really do or say? We can just talk about it. Anyways, another one: as Bitcoin adoption expands across institutions, market behavior is becoming more stable, offering greater predictability and confidence for long-term investors. The TLDR of this segment is eventually saying what I've kind of been saying. maybe we're just going to be seeing slow grinds up to like $1 million Bitcoin. Maybe we're just going to be bored to death. As I've been joking, maybe we're just covering the S&P 500 now. Like it's just going to be a slow, gradual climb up, and there's not going to be many fireworks. I don't want to believe it, but this is what their data is showing them. Now, there is one more thing I want to say in here. You guys could read the whole report. I will drop it for you guys. But there is an interesting number here. Let me see. Where did I highlight it? It was towards the day. Okay, this part is interesting. And then I'm going to wrap it up. Market cap multiplier. Each dollar deployed into Bitcoin can move the market by $1.70 over time, or up to $25 in the short term, depending on timing, volatility, and conviction. Now, I'm going to read this a little bit to break it down. It goes, the effect is quantified through the market cap multiplier. We brought up this idea on the show. Roughly, the kind of idea was that for every dollar going into Bitcoin, it pushes it up by $8 in market cap. They kind of broke this down into short term and long term. So the ratio of change in market capitalization to net realized capital inflows. Using this framework, we estimate the short-term and long-term MCM under both bull and bear market conditions. So critical MCM varies significantly with trend momentum, ranging between roughly 70 cents in bear markets every $1 of inflow. If held until next bear market, leads to increasing market cap by just 70 cents, or roughly 3.7 in bull markets. Every $1 of inflows, if held into the next bull market, results in increasing market cap by up to 3.7. So we've talked about the multiplier on the show. Now, the interesting one here is they kind of averaged it out. But the short-term one is the short-term impacts. The 30-day MCM can range from near zero to 25x, especially during high volatile periods. On average, the short-term multiplier is roughly 8, meaning $1 of capital can briefly move the market by 8. But they're saying a short-term could move it by $25 per dollar going in. So I'm going to drop the report for you guys. You guys can go check it out. I think there's some bullish information here. First of all, I think we can all agree, or rather, you don't have to agree. There's data now, and we can verify the data from other sources. But institutions have fundamentally changed the structure of the Bitcoin bull market. Whether that means we aren't going to see a cycle anymore, we don't know. I know Saylor went out yesterday and said like $1 million Bitcoin, no bear market ever, but then did kind of caveat it afterwards with like, well, we might see like a 60% drop, but you know, what do I know? We're going up forever. But the signal remains the same. Institutions are here. It's no longer just a meme. They are fundamentally getting hungrier for more Bitcoin. It is starting to change the structure of the Bitcoin cycle. This is all growing pains. The market is just getting bigger. It is getting more liquid. It's potentially going to get more stable over time. Does that mean it's now? No, but it is starting to become, for lack of better terms, a very boring asset. I don't know, Sophie. We've been pretty bored this whole year. So I think it's starting to feel right. It's starting to feel right. But anyways, let me drop this in the chat for you guys, and you guys could read the whole report. I think I hit the main points of this for you guys. And I thought it was a good report. We got some data to back up kind of the feeling that we've been talking about, the intuition, our gut feeling about what's going on in the market. Anyways, I know that was a long segment, but I wanted to break it down. Sophie's looking at me crazy over here. Soph, I know you're bored to death. What did you take away from that?
I have questions.
Questions.
So it kind of seems unrealistic to me that the exchanges don't are losing Bitcoin, because then how would you be able to buy Bitcoin and take it into self-custody? Like for what it's worth, like people do still do that, right? And if they don't, the whole company would collapse, like the whole exchange would collapse, because if you couldn't take your Bitcoin into self-custody, like what would be like the whole point? Or, you know, any other crypto, let's say. So my kind of question for you is, because I don't know, you know, much about this. I'm not really like into the technical aspect of Bitcoin. I'm mostly like a cultural girly. Do you think that these institutions are just buying IOUs from the
Coinbase?
exchanges? Yeah. And then selling those IOUs as paper Bitcoin, and basically having the exchanges promise to give them their dollar value when Bitcoin goes down. But it doesn't go down because there's still money backing the Bitcoin that like they're trying to buy. You get it?
You lost me on that last part. Repeat it. I was getting distracted by my fake Opti account in the chat, which I do endorse this message though, but he is a fake. This is not me. All right, say it again. So sorry.
I'm just wondering because
I know the first part. We've been talking about this for a while. Yes, there is a potential for some of these custodians exchanges to essentially be selling an IOU of this Bitcoin. And since they aren't custodying it historically, and most famously is Saylor, you know, apparently he's buying a bunch of Bitcoin, but he is using Coinbase Prime. Now, I think now they are trying to go public. So it would be very stupid of them to basically be committing fraud before they go public. But this is something we've seen happen in the past, particular FTX. So this is what we've been talking about.
Well,
if they don't take into custody, then do they actually own that Bitcoin? But what's the second part?
Saylor's kind of a different story because he's a Bitcoin maxi and he would actually take his Bitcoin into self-custody. But what I'm saying is, are these institutions buying IOUs from the exchanges? And is that what they're selling their customers as ETFs? That's my question.
Oh, okay. I got you.
And like, is it with a promise that these exchanges will sell Bitcoin at a lower price in the future because they believe in the cycles?
Got it. It's a non-zero chance. It's definite. I don't know. I'm not in an exchange, but it's definitely something we talked about.
There's something in this puzzle that's missing. We know that they are greedy and we know that they want lower, like cheaper sats. Who doesn't? We know that the price isn't moving. We know that they're not showing us their balance sheet. So there's something in this puzzle that we know that ETFs are not real Bitcoin. So is it possible that they are buying IOUs from these exchanges in return for cheaper Bitcoin in the future based on the cycles?
Got it. It's definitely a possibility. I don't know.
Chat,
I don't believe it is. I think legally they have to back it.
Yeah.
They
legally,
have
but
to,
where's
and there are charts and places. I've seen Tone pull it up where you can see the amount that has come into the ETF and then the amount that has to go out. So every time they sell, they have to actually sell the Bitcoin. And then every time people buy it from them, they have to have the actual Bitcoin to back that up. So as far as I know, that is the law.
Well, now again, they could be breaking the law, but I don't think that's what they're doing. There could be some fraud, which is not to say that the crypto industry is all fraudsters, but there are people that break the law.
It might not even be illegal. It might just be a loophole. It might be a loophole where they say, like, we did buy this Bitcoin, we just don't have it in our custody right now.
There's a famous example, and that was FTX. They did that exactly. That's exactly what they did. But I'm hoping we have learned our lesson from that whole debacle. So it's a non-zero
I think the
chance.
BlackRock ETF is a different it's a different animal than FTX, because FTX was, they were in the Bahamas. They just said, hey, we've got Bitcoin, but they never did. So because they never had it, what happened with FTX never should have even moved to the price of Bitcoin, because they never had it to begin with. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
totally. So I mean, me and Nico have been talking about this on the show, this idea of like BlackRock not actually having the Bitcoin, and just the basic kind of thinking about it. I think that it's still kind of early. Like, if you're BlackRock, you want Bitcoin to pump so that you can make your fees off the ETF. So I don't think they're going to be doing anything that dangerous and risky yet. Now, will they do that in the future? Potentially. And like Mel was kind of saying, it's probably not BlackRock or these really big regulated exchange or the more front-facing public companies, but there could be some smaller exchanges that are on, shady jurisdictions that are doing this. So it's definitely a possibility that these things are happening. But I think the big boys out there, which are essentially, more the headline figures, I don't think they would blatantly commit fraud when they're trying to go public. But what do I know? I don't think Larry Fink is out here doing that either. But I mean, I think we just have PTSD. We've seen this happen in the past, and this is why Bitcoiners always keep their head on the swivel. Like, well, where is the attack coming from? Because the price should be pumping. So hey, we don't know yet. This is the unknown unknowns of where we are right now. We're still in the Wild West here, so things could happen.
All I know is the math ain't mathin'.
Math ain't mathin'.
And something's up.
Well, I mean, we're saying that now. Watch the price start ripping by the end of the day, or sorry, the end of the week, and then we'll be like, hey, manipulate the price upwards. I'm okay.
No, I'm cool with that. Like I said, print them up, make that money printer vibrate.
Well, pause. It's a family-friendly show, Sophie. Okay, changing topics here. We're going to talk about Mel. As you can see behind her, she is in the woods right now working on something really cool. So let's go into the culture and wrap up today's show.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com. Need liquidity without having to sell your Bitcoin? For more than 6 years now, Ledin has been the trusted choice for Bitcoin-backed lending with transparency, security, and trust at their core. I absolutely love these guys, and I personally not only have an account with them, but also a loan. And some of the key features that I love about Ledin is the fact that there are no monthly payments. You pay at the end of the term. You also have the ability to roll over the loan as well, and you can pay it back whenever you want. Essentially what they do is that they help their clients unlock the liquidity of their BTC, allowing you to hodl while still accessing the wealth of your Bitcoin. They've been battle tested with their focus on transparency, security, and trust, allowing them to build a proven track record of client success and security, helping tens of thousands of clients harness the value of their digital assets with confidence and peace of mind. Learn more about what your BTC can do for you today. Simply Bitcoin viewers get 0.25% off their first loan by using the link in the video/podcast description. What are you waiting for? Head over to ledin.io today.
All right, Mel. Well, thanks for coming on today's show. As they can see here, let's pull it up. They can see you are in the wilderness over there, coming live from Alaska, I believe. You don't have to fully tell us where you are, but how's the conference coming? I'll pull up the website. Let's chat about it a little bit.
Okay. So Bitcoin Alaska starts July 1st, and we're going from July 1st through July 6th. The actual conference days are the 5th and 6th. But before that, we're going to do some of the coolest stuff. We're going to go out on the ocean and with canoes, and we're going on a big whale cruise to see orcas and whales. And so we're going to do all kinds of things that you're going to see the natural resources that Alaska has to offer. And for mining in particular, this is a pretty huge opportunity. We're super excited to have Rustin as our MC. We've got Congressman Begich, who wrote the bill with Cynthia Loomis. He is our keynote speaker, and he's going to be here in Juneau, Alaska with us. Let me clear up some common misconceptions about where I am. There are no igloos here. There are no penguins here. They're like, right now it's about 60 degrees, but it's cool and it rains every day. This is a temperate rainforest. This hat has become my life. Notice my little lightning bolt. I've got the whole winter outfits for this conference. So, and all Bitcoin themed because I'm a complete nerd. But let me tell you something that's really interesting about Alaska. When you talk about Bitcoin here, people don't look at you like you're psychotic. They actually know about it. We were at a bar Friday night, and it's the bar that we're going to have karaoke night on July 2nd, which also happens to be my birthday. And they're ready. They're ready for us. They're ready to take Bitcoin in tips. They're ready to take payment already for drinks. I mean, like the people up here, they get it. I don't know why or how, but they get it. I've not quite seen anything like it. You know, no one gives you this look if you mention Bitcoin. And more people have Bitcoin already here, like, than I've ever encountered in like meeting new people. So I'm like, this is really fascinating. And I think Alaska seems like it's on another planet. And so people don't think that, they don't think about it. But what's going on here is pretty amazing. And I'm excited to be a part of it. Listen, it's easy to get up here. You fly to Seattle and you fly not even 2 hours north. We still have plenty of lodging. We have an entire hotel reserved for us, just us, and people are coming. We have now, I think we're up at about 120 people, which again is pretty big. And Congressman Begich cut off his European vacation to make sure that he was here. And so if anybody's interested and you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and I'll help you. Frontier Suites is what we've got completely just for us. So, and the whale cruise, just us. So it's like, I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm excited to be here. The people of Juneau, I mean, this is a really small town. This is like 35,000 people. And these people are really excited for us to come and be here. You know, we're getting support from the local businesses. They're donating food. You know, it's amazing. So this is probably one of the best communities of Bitcoiners in the world. Can you, I mean, it's mind blowing. So I've decided that I would now like to live half the time in Alaska, half the time in Miami Beach, and I would be an completely happy person. And I have seen 4 bears. Yeah, 4 bears already, 2 cubs, 1 3-year-old. And then like I got a message from Wade last night. Him and his son were on a run and got about 10 feet from a bear. So they are out. Yeah, there are bald eagles everywhere. It's just unbelievably gorgeous. I cannot believe that this is part of the United States.
Well, the chat wants to know, is there bear hunting on the conference schedule? That might not be legal, guys.
Absolutely
I don't know.
not. No,
I think they meant the people.
No. I do think there are times of the year that it's legal, but I don't think that happens here. I think that happens further north. But
okay.
So you know.
All
but
right.
yes, there's so much to do that. Yeah, I mean, I've been here over a week and I'm just scratching the surface. I mean, I've seen glaciers. It's just, you guys are going to be here next year. And by the way, Simply Bitcoin is one of our sponsors. We appreciate that so much. And having Rustin here to be our MC is just awesome. I mean, he's great. He's really, really good at it. And so, you know, we have everything we need. And
awesome.
We're gonna do it.
Awesome.
So,
yeah, we
come and join us.
Love it, Mel.
Not
yeah,
you guys. Yes, we want you to join us too, but everyone can join us. And I think that this is an experience you're never going to forget.
Love it. Yeah, we told Rustin to, not go full Rustin, maybe pull it back a little bit so that he's not full blown
No.
crazy. You're
That's
going to
not
get
what
a full
Alaskans
send
want.
Rustin, guys. I don't know if you're ready for this. Full send Rustin in Alaska.
Full send Rustin in Alaska is exactly what Alaska wants. I promise.
Let's go.
I promise.
Rustin's gonna
As
kill
I
it.
get to know these people, that is what they want.
He's gonna turn some bears into
He's
bulls.
gonna. Yes.
Let's go. That's
for sure.
awesome. Actually, Mel, I do want to kind of, chat about it, rather just comment. Like, it is very interesting. The fact, especially us, I'm was in Texas. Like, Alaska seems so far away. You said a tiny town of 35,000 people, and they're very receptive to Bitcoin, which is just, it's kind of mind blowing. Something so remote. It seems like you said, a totally different country, and they're Bitcoiners. They're ready to embrace it. They're hyped for the conference. I don't know. It's kind of amazing.
I don't know if you know. Juneau is
the
the capital of Alaska. Oh, you might have. Wait, there I am.
No, you're back. You're back.
I don't know if you know
You're
this,
back.
but okay. Juneau is the capital of Alaska. So this is where the legislature is written, and this is where all of these things happen. Anchorage is a bigger city. And then, like I said, the mining resources and natural resources and opportunities here are huge.
Love it. Love it. Nico's
Hello?
rudely interrupting.
Nico!
Nico's whispering. Mel says hi, Nico. Mel's saying hi.
Nico's trying to be a SMR star influencer.
All right, Mel. Well, to wrap up the show, let's pull up the website one more time and let's try to drive some people over there. So go to bitcoinalaska.org. Let's do, Mel, what is the last 2-minute elevator pitch for people to make the trek to Alaska, break out of the norm, and head up to hang out at the conference in Alaska in Juneau?
So the pitch is, this is the most beautiful place, one of the most beautiful places on earth. I am not a winter person by any means. And like I said, I would spend half my time here and half my time in Miami Beach if I had the choice. And this is where people, and the state of Alaska, there's a lot of poverty here. They need Bitcoin and they need us, and they're receptive. I mean, where else? I don't know, but they're receptive. It's so easy to get here. I get on a plane and get to Juneau. It's like an hour and a half flight from Seattle. It is easy. We have affordable lodging, and we're going to do some of the most amazing things that Bitcoiners have ever done together. So when you see when it's done, you're going to wish you were here. Just saying.
Let's go. Awesome, guys. We'll go to bitcoinalaska.org. If you're interested, get yourself a pass today. And let's hope we see some radical
FYI,
Simply Bitcoiners up there.
Yeah. FYI, a whale pass is literally to see whales.
Oh, there we go. Finally.
Wealthy people. It is for actual whales in the ocean.
Let's go. Finally, no false advertisement over here. A whale pass is to go whale watching. All right.
That's
Mel,
right.
thank you so much.
It really is.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. We appreciate it. Guys, go to bitcoinalaska.org and go hang out with Rustin and Mel in Alaska, in Juneau. Really appreciate it, Mel. Let me pull you behind the scenes. Sophie, you want to say bye before I pull her off?
Bye, Mel. Love you.
Bye, Soph. Love you. Mwah.
All right. Okay, Mel, just hang out behind the scenes for a second while I wrap up today's show. All right, guys, this was episode 1265. This is June 12th, and I'm Opti, and this is the wonderful Internet Sophie, and we do have Nico hovering over here, hovering kind of weirdly over here. Anyways, guys, he should be back here tomorrow. We'll be back to our normally scheduled show. We will be live at 12:15 p.m. Eastern time. Well, you already know the unofficial official time of Simply Bitcoin, a little after 12:15. But on that note, guys, go outside, get some sun, eat some good food, call your loved ones, and stack some Bitcoin. Peace out, guys. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.